Every year, the Federal Reserve does an extensive survey of American households to better understand their financial health. They just released the 2024 survey, and it is full of really good data. Now, if you're in mortgage or real estate, reports like this are essential to building our economic literacy and to better advise our clients. The better we understand, the position of, the people we serve, the better we can advise them. And this report, which is 88 pages and must have at least 120 different data points, charts, is incredible. And I'm going to share some highlights, and I'll share just a couple of the charts, but I really enjoyed this. I don't remember seeing this before. I'll give you just a quick look at what it looks like, and then we'll come back to it. But this is what the report is, from the Federal Reserve Board, Economic Well-Being of U.S. households. So here's some key data. 73% of U.S. adults reported doing okay or living comfortably, which is similar results to the year before, but down from a high of 78% in 2021. Inflation remains a top financial concern, though fewer people say that it's worsening their finances compared to last year. And only 29% rate the national economy as good or excellent. So there's definitely some future negativity, on the horizon. 60% said that price changes in the last year made their financial situation worse. 79% adjusted their behavior due to high prices, mostly by spending less. Makes sense. 51% reported spending less than their income, slightly better than 2023, but still below the 2020 and 2021 highs. But let's flip that over, and I'm going to show this in another chart. If 51% reported spending less than their income, that means that 49% of American households spend more than their monthly income. Boy, that is really a problem. And we're going to look at a chart that shows that in a second. And savings, 63% said they could cover a $400 emergency expense using cash or equivalents, which is unchanged from the previous year, but down from a high of 68% in 2021. 35% of non-retirees felt their retirement savings are on track, which is up from prior years, but still below the 2021 level. So a third of people that are currently working think they're on track for their retirement. That's super scary. Employment and gig work, 14% started new jobs and 9% quit their jobs, which is fairly stable compared to 2023 when people are jumping jobs all over the place. Among job changers, 62% felt that their new job was better. That's down from 67% in 2023 and 72% in 2022. So roughly 2/3 of people that switch jobs think they got a better job. That means 1/3 of people that switch job think they got a worse job. 13% of the respondents earned some sort of income through the gig economy or resale work, with 9% of those performing short-term tasks like ride sharing or delivery. Under banking and credit, the use of buy now, pay later rose slightly to 15%. So 50% of respondents use that buy now, pay later, that BNPL. But late payments have jumped sharply on the BNPL, jumping to almost 25%. Almost 25% of people using buy now, pay later have lates now. Of the respondents, 21% experienced some form of financial fraud or scam involving their money in the past year. And their total losses from just credit card scams alone was over $84 billion. Now, on the housing front, we're pretty up to speed on the housing front, but the median rent reached $1,200 per month, up 10% annually since 2022. And then this is an interesting thing. 7% of homeowners do not carry homeowners insurance, mostly due to the cost. So that's some of the key data. I highlighted that data today in my LinkedIn, so make sure you check out my LinkedIn. But what I want to do is I want to just look at a handful of the charts because the charts actually show a much more interesting picture. So here we go. Let's look at the first one here. This is who say they're doing okay or living comfortably financially. And the interesting thing here is this is separated by education. So if you have a bachelor's degree or higher, you think you're doing pretty good. You're living okay. You're comfortable. If you have some college degree or technical or associate's degree, well, you think you're doing okay, but compared to people that got a degree, you're doing 20 points worse, right? Because people got a degree, 87% of them said they're doing pretty good. Only 68% of the people with some sort of college said that they're doing okay. The next one is people, and what's interesting is whether you got a high school degree or whether you got some college, your perception of how you're doing is about the same, right? 64 versus 68. But people that have less than a high school degree, more than half of them don't think they're doing okay. Isn't that kind of concerning? That is disappointing. And so anything we can do to help people get through high school will certainly be helpful. The next chart here says assessment of well-being, the local economy and national economy, right? This is very interesting. This is so interesting and so true. We think we're doing okay, but we think the local economy is bad, and we think the national economy sucks. That's what that says, right? 73% of us say, hey, we're doing okay, but when we have to judge the local economy, only 46% of us think the local economy is doing good. And when we go to the national economy, only 29% of us think the national economy is doing well. This falls into the same kind of psychology that comes like, I'm doing okay, but I'm sure my neighbor is doing poorly, kind of thing. This is interesting. How many people are living in your household? 64% said it's their spouse or partner. 25% said they have children under 18. 18% said children over 18. 15% have parents living with them. 7% has brothers and sisters. 5% have other relatives. And 5% just have friends or people that can help pay the mortgage. Interesting, right? Monthly spending relative to income. Now, what is really interesting about this is the top line, 51% of people spent less than they earned the prior month, which is ideal. But 30% spent the same amount that they earned, and 19% spent more than they earned. That is really concerning, right? If you're spending more than you earn, that's a giant problem, right? And if we go to look at that distress, the respondents that did not pay all their bills in the prior month, right? People that earn less than $25,000, 34% said they didn't pay all their bills. Now, this is misleading because most people that earn $25,000 are most likely, young adults, and are living in apartments, sharing apartments. It's not such a distressing thing. But people that earn $25,000 to $50,000, 23% said they weren't able to pay all their bills the previous month. People earning $50,000 to $100,000, 14% said they didn't make all their bills. And then people making over $100,000 a month, 7% said they couldn't make all their bills. So this also breaks it down, as you can see, by age, ethnicity, disability status, and parental status. But I think income is probably the most interesting one. Continue on with interesting data. Types of bills not paid in the last few months. The top bills, for homeowner, or top bills for renters and homeowners is skipping paying water, gas, or electric bills. In fact, 11% of renters didn't pay one of those bills. The next up is phone, internet, and cable. 9% of renters didn't make those payments. Notice how homeowners make their payments a little better than renters do. Rent or mortgage, 2% of homeowners, 6% of renters. Of course, that can't go on long. And car payments is about the same. Credit card, making the minimum, 2% of homeowners said they weren't making the minimum payments on their credit cards, while 3% of renters said they weren't. And then we can start going, same thing, what kind of medical treatment did you have to skip because you couldn't afford it? 19% of respondents said, hey, I didn't have the dental care I needed last month because I couldn't afford it. 16% said they didn't see a doctor or a specialist. 11% said I didn't get the prescriptions I needed. 11% said I didn't do follow-up. 9% said they didn't get mental health care or counseling. So this is kind of sad. We need to help people, of course, not only with the dream of home ownership, the related wealth, help them, and then through financial literacy, teach them how to have budgets, teach them about money. Most of these people could possibly be in a better situation with a little better financial education, a little better discipline. And I'm making a judgment of that. It's just a calling that you and I have to go see if we can't make a difference. We already talked about the $400 emergency. We don't really care. Types of assets by age. We won't go into this. It was pretty interesting. This is something really interesting. That's types of people who are unbanked. So how many people who are not banked? So 6% of Americans do not do business with a bank or financial institution. They're just totally outside the financial, world. For buy now, pay later, the reasons for using it, I thought this was pretty interesting. 1, they just wanted to spread out the payments. 2, it was really easy. 3, they weren't charged interest, so it was cheaper than using a credit card. 4, it's the only way they could afford it. 5, they didn't want to use their credit card. 6, they really enjoyed having the fixed number of payments. And 7, it's the only way they had to buy what they wanted. So super interesting there. Type of financial fraud, by the way, you can see it depends on the age type, but the number one financial fraud, certainly credit card reigns supreme over other types of financial fraud. But here's what's interesting. I don't know if you know this. The older you are, the more susceptible you are to fraud. Isn't that interesting? 18 to 29, they're savvy. You're not going to trick them. But over 60, take their money, man. It's unbelievable. So, home ownership rental rates, we've covered this. I think we get the idea. You guys get the idea. Here's what I would encourage you. Go ahead. I'll put a link to this report below. It's really good. It's 88 pages. Like I said, it's over 100 charts. Really good information. Things that you can use if you're teaching financial literacy. Things that you can use if you're doing first-time home buyer seminars. Even if you're just doing home buyer seminars. Even in your consultation, you can go, hey, I understand, recent surveys say that American households are experiencing X. I want to help you avoid that. If you choose to use me, I'll be committed to helping you build a path, financial stability that avoids these pitfalls, whatever that is. So as I mentioned, I did a pretty lengthy post on this on LinkedIn today. I do quite a few posts like this where I try to give you valuable information that you can use in your business. With that, I really appreciate you giving me a few minutes of your time. Hope you're having a great day. I look forward to talking to you again soon.